In the vibrant heart of Oakhaven Zoological Gardens, where the joyful sounds of visitors echoed through the enclosures, lived a venerable lioness named Seraphina. Revered by both staff and guests for her regal bearing and profound wisdom, she had long been the iconic figure of the zoo's predator exhibit. As the seasons turned, Seraphina advanced in years, her movements becoming more deliberate. Yet, to everyone's astonishment, one crisp autumn dawn, the veterinary team confirmed Seraphina was expecting, likely her final litter. The news rippled through Oakhaven like a gentle breeze, met with hushed celebrations among the staff, who understood this could be her lasting legacy. Each day that followed was a blend of anticipation and concern, as the keepers maintained a vigilant watch over Seraphina. Then, on a tranquil, rain-kissed Tuesday morning, with a distant murmur of thunder and the earthy fragrance of damp soil permeating the air, Seraphina gave birth within the sanctuary of her straw-lined den. A tiny, quivering lion cub emerged, no larger than a domestic kitten. He was named Nimbus, a Latin word for cloud, inspired by the soft, overcast sky of that morning. However, just hours after bringing Nimbus into the world, Seraphina peacefully drew her last breath, her head resting gently beside her newborn. A profound silence descended upon the zoo as her passing was confirmed. Many of the staff, especially those who had cared for her for over a decade, were moved to tears. The arrival of Nimbus, meant to be a moment of pure joy, was now overshadowed by deep sorrow. The tiny cub was left orphaned, vulnerable, chilled, and utterly dependent on human intervention. The veterinary team swiftly examined Nimbus. He was underweight, fragile, and incapable of nursing on his own. An urgent meeting was convened by the zoo's management to determine the best course of action for his survival. They needed someone who could not only feed him but also provide the nurturing care of a mother. Among the staff was a kind and soft-spoken animal care intern named Elara Vance, just 22 years old. Having joined Oakhaven a mere 4 months prior, her innate connection with animals was evident to all. Without hesitation, Elara volunteered to become Nimbus's full-time caretaker. Following a thorough discussion and the approval of senior veterinarians, Elara was officially designated the surrogate mother to the orphaned lion cub. From that moment onward, Elara's life underwent a significant transformation. She moved into the on-site living quarters near the animal hospital to remain close to Nimbus around the clock. She bottle-fed him every 3 hours, gently cleaned him after each feeding, and even warmed his bed with a heating pad during the cool nights. Nimbus, though initially small and weak, began to respond. He would snuggle into Elara's embrace, his tiny ears twitching at the sound of her soothing melodies. During sleepless nights, she would hum softly and rock him gently until he drifted off to slumber. As time passed, a remarkable bond blossomed between the young woman and the baby lion. Zoo workers often observed Elara strolling along the secluded pathways with Nimbus nestled on her shoulder or engaging in gentle play with him beneath the shade of the trees. As Nimbus grew, his attachment to Elara deepened. He would playfully pounce into her arms, purr contentedly, and even refuse food from other keepers. His loyalty was unwavering. Elara was his world. The public also began to take notice. Visitors would gather around Nimbus's enclosure, eager for a glimpse of him interacting with Elara. Photos of the endearing pair circulated widely on social media, sparking headlines such as, "Lion Cub Finds Mother in Compassionate Zookeeper." Then, one afternoon, 6 months after Nimbus's birth, a fierce thunderstorm descended upon Oakhaven. The wind howled, rain lashed down relentlessly, and several enclosures sustained damage from falling branches and debris. The zoo declared a temporary emergency shutdown and arranged for some of the most vulnerable animals to be temporarily housed with staff members. Elara was asked if she could take Nimbus to her small cottage located approximately 1.5 miles away at 14 Willow Creek Lane. She readily agreed, wrapping Nimbus in a thick blanket and holding him securely as she hurried through the storm to her car. Nimbus, now larger but still young, curiously peered out the window at the tempestuous world outside. At home, Elara transformed her spare bedroom into a temporary lion nursery. Nimbus adapted quickly, batting at cushions, playfully tipping over potted plants, and curling up near the fireplace. For an entire week, Elara and Nimbus lived together like a true family. He would follow her around the kitchen, sleep beside her bed, and even watch animated shows on the living room television. When the zoo was finally repaired and reopened, Elara returned Nimbus with a heavy heart. He whimpered softly upon their arrival, his amber eyes searching her face with confusion. However, with her regular visits, Nimbus gradually settled back into his enclosure. 3 years passed. Nimbus matured into a magnificent, muscular lion with a flowing, sun-kissed mane that shimmered in the light. He stood tall and proud, a true sovereign of his domain. Children would cheer at the sight of him, and tourists would queue to capture his image. Yet, one thing remained constant: his bond with Elara. Every day, without fail, Elara would visit him. She would speak to him softly, play familiar lullabies on her phone, and bring him his favorite treats. Nimbus would respond with gentle growls, deep rumbles, and affectionate nudges against the enclosure bars. Then, one spring morning, Elara fell gravely ill, diagnosed with a high fever and viral fatigue. The doctor instructed her to take a full week off work. She informed the zoo management and promised to return as soon as she recovered. That very same day, a noticeable change occurred in Nimbus. He refused to eat, paced restlessly in his enclosure, let out low, mournful cries, and gazed intently toward the path Elara usually approached from. The staff attempted to comfort him, but it was evident he deeply missed his human mother. Meanwhile, a groundskeeper named Samuel, who was tasked with cleaning Nimbus's enclosure, was rushing that morning and inadvertently left the cage door unlatched. Hours passed, and the oversight went unnoticed. Then, just after sunset, Nimbus quietly stepped out, his massive form moving slowly but deliberately. By the time Samuel returned and realized his mistake, it was too late. Nimbus was gone. Panic erupted. Sirens wailed, zoo staff contacted the local authorities, and a citywide alert was issued. Fear gripped the community at the thought of a dangerous wild animal roaming free. However, Nimbus was not aggressive. Witnesses reported seeing him walking calmly along quiet residential streets, carefully avoiding vehicles and appearing to be searching for something. Eventually, he arrived at a quaint white cottage with a garden adorned with lavender and ivy climbing the walls, located at 27 Lavender Lane. Nimbus stood outside the gate, his gaze fixed on the window. Inside, Elara was resting in bed when she heard a deep, familiar rumble. She slowly walked to the window and gasped. There, bathed in the soft glow of the porch light, stood Nimbus. Her heart pounded. Initial fear gave way to recognition as she looked into his eyes, the same soft, gentle eyes that had once gazed up at her from a blanket in her arms. Elara stepped outside barefoot onto the cool grass. Nimbus lowered himself to the ground, extending his paws as if awaiting her touch. She walked closer, tears streaming down her face, and knelt down, embracing his thick mane. "You found your way back to me," she whispered. By this time, police cars and zoo vehicles had surrounded the block. However, witnessing the emotional reunion, no one dared to intervene. People captured videos, reporters snapped photographs. The world watched in awe as the lion and the woman embraced like long-lost kin. Eventually, to ensure safety, Nimbus was gently guided back into a secure transport cage. Elara rode with him back to the zoo, sitting by the cage and holding his paw through the bars. Back at the zoo, Nimbus underwent a thorough veterinary examination. He was perfectly healthy, merely emotionally distressed. The story made national headlines. "Lion escapes to find his mom," one paper declared. A major television network invited Elara and Nimbus for a special interview, where she shared their extraordinary journey from bottle feeding to lionhood. Nimbus became not just a star of Oakhaven, but a symbol of unwavering loyalty, profound love, and the deep emotional connections that can form between animals and humans. Crowds at the zoo doubled, and children brought drawings and paintings of Nimbus. Elara, now a public figure, began giving talks on animal bonding and emotional intelligence in wildlife. The zoo even constructed a new enclosure for Nimbus, twice the size and featuring more natural terrain. But their story didn't end there. Wildlife conservation advocates approached the zoo with a remarkable proposal: to prepare Nimbus for a gradual transition from zoo life to a protected sanctuary in the wild. A vast reserve in the Redwood National Forest had offered to provide him with ample space, freedom, and a natural habitat. Elara hesitated, knowing this could mean their final farewell, but deep down, she knew it was the right thing to do. Nimbus deserved to roam under open skies, not behind glass. With tears in her eyes, she signed the necessary documents. Elara would accompany Nimbus during the initial year of his transition, helping him acclimate to his new surroundings, learn essential hunting skills, and reconnect with his innate instincts. A documentary film crew followed their every moment, and soon, the world would witness another chapter in their extraordinary bond. And so, Nimbus, once a tiny orphaned cub, now stood on the threshold of a new world. His gaze fixed on the distant horizon, but his heart forever bound to the woman who had nurtured him from the moment he first opened his eyes. Dear friends, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming animal rescue stories. Until our next tale, stay kind and stay connected.